Hi, my name is Kiril Mugerman. I'm President and CEO of Geomega Resources, and we are a clean technologies company with a very exciting angle to technology royalties in the metals and mining space.
Kirill, good to meet you. And first time we've met or spoken. So, maybe start off for people new to the story and yourself. And tell us a little bit about yourself. What's your background? What have you done before?
Absolutely. I'm a geologist by training. I graduated from McGill University. And then worked in mineral exploration, worked for goldfields a little bit all over the world in gold exploration, and then started working as a mining and metals analyst for industrial line securities, really covering the industrial mineral space. That's what it used to be called back then. Today it's all critical and strategic metals. And around 2014 joined Geomega. In 2015 became president and CEO of Geomega Resources, and that's where I am today.
Fantastic. Look, it seems to be the timing is. I know you've been in the company a long time, but the timing is right for critical minerals, mineral security. Lots of names, as you say. And I'm just trying to understand what the business is and what the business plan is. You're talking about sort of rare earths and critical metals and recovery from various sources. You've got magnet recycling, you've got bauxite recovery. We'll talk about your announcement this morning, obviously. Recycling using reagent technologies, etc., etc. It seems to go on. So, what is the business that you're trying to build here?
Perfect. Yeah, you're absolutely right. Right. We started from one place. We were an exploration company. We had Montviel project, amazing discovery. Stock was going through the roof back in the days of 2011 when rare earth pricing, the first explosion of pricing. But yeah, we evolved with time, and we realized building rare earth projects back in the days was almost impossible. We moved towards rare earth recycling with the logic, okay, let's go smaller, let's prove up the technology, let's get cash flow, let's start generating money, and let's do that. So we started going towards this magnet recycling plant in Quebec, which we are building and should be starting very soon. So maybe we should have another chat on that some other day. But then around 2020, we said, you know what, we are too focused on one sector. Like if for some reason magnets, whether it's Tesla or Elon Musk says, okay, here's a better solution, you don't need magnets anymore, or whoever knows what will happen, and suddenly magnets and rare earths are not sexy anymore, what happens? So we were kind of focused too much on that, so we wanted to diversify. So we started saying, where else can our technology be applied? We have an interesting technology. It can extract metals, it can process waste, it can recycle its own reagents, so it's almost basically a no waste solution. But where else can we apply it? So we started looking at opportunities. We looked at bauxite residues, which is the red mud that's coming out from aluminum refining, bauxite refining before they make the aluminum. And this was a material that I was familiar with back from my days as an analyst. So we started looking at that more. We started working with Rio Tinto. They gave us some material to work with. We started test work. We saw the potential, and we kept growing from there. So that gave us a diversity to, number one, we have a client that wants our technology. They are the ones that are going to be building the plant. They are the owners of that waste. So we don't have to put the capex to build it. But if we sell them a license, which is what you saw announced earlier today, they have to process it. They have to do the operation. That's part of their business. They know how to build those plants. They know how to operate those plants. And we get a chunk of that. So a nice technology royalty, which is really where we are going. And we keep growing this technology and applying it to other opportunities. But today, the most mature one is bauxite residue.
Okay, so bauxite residue, I saw the announcement, let's say this morning, and you want to do this transition to a technology royalty company. I think I understand that. But if I can just kind of deal with some of the more rudimentary components or variables here. Right, the technology, that is your intellectual property, yeah?
Correct. We developed it in-house. Our CTO, Puya Hajiani, Dr. Puya Hajiani, is the inventor of this technology. He started from scratch with us here in our labs, and we've been growing our labs, we've been growing our technical teams, and we do all the bench scale, all the analytical test work, all the piloting, everything is done in-house.
Right. So, and let's look at what the different options available to you in terms of how you charge for these things. So you talk about a royalty versus a license? And can you get into the weeds in terms of how you decided to charge and why that structure?
We looked at what's out there, and a good example is you can probably look at the gold industry around 10, 20 years, more than 10, yeah, around 20, 30 years ago, they started coming up with new technologies, how to extract gold from refractory ores, right? Then they started coming up with BIOX, POX, and all those technologies. So it's a bit of a similar approach. And this is all private transactions, but we managed to sit down with the right consultants, the people that were in that industry when this was all being rolled out. So we understood what are the numbers behind it, and we started seeing a better picture in terms of what can we do. So number one, they are going to be making money, a lot of money. If our technology works well, instead of having a residue and a tailings facility that they have to maintain and keep in a good standing, suddenly they have a new source. They don't have to mine it, they don't have to crush it, it's all there. So it's a new revenue for them. A lot of those aluminum companies already are in the business of selling many different products, such as Rio Tinto. They are in so many different metals. So for them, that's just extra metals to be sold by them. They'll be making revenue. And the license is the royalty, basically. So the license, as long as they keep paying a royalty, once it goes to commercial scale, we provide them the technology maintenance, we provide them the support that's required for them to keep running their plant. And this is the best way to maintain that license in such a way that as long as I'm getting paid, they have a technology that's up to date and producing money for them.
Okay, but I just want to deal with kind of perceptions in the market. Okay, royalty is potentially sharing some of the upside. Okay, they've got a new revenue stream which perhaps wasn't there. It's remediation benefits and all of that kind of good stuff as well. But versus my perception of license would be an upfront fee. And when I'm looking at the press release, I'm looking at the fact that they have 1.4 million plus 100K to follow, and potentially another 3 million behind that. That feels like a license versus a royalty. So do you have optionality on the way that you draw down money into the future? And would this going to be prohibitive in terms of the way that you would set up with other companies that may want to use this technology?
No, so it's not it's non-exclusive. So we keep working with other aluminum refineries around the world, and we've been doing that for many years now. And we have a deep list of clients that different groups are doing bench scale, others are doing piloting, others are thinking. So they're everybody is kind of, there are different clients at different stages, and we can discuss those different stages. But I understand what you mean, that license versus royalty. In this case, this is a demonstration license. This is still a brand new technology. The aluminum has been produced now for about 100 years commercially, and there is still no solution for this waste problem. So it makes sense that a company, before they go and build a commercial scale, and a commercial scale, just to give you an idea, like all those aluminum refineries, pretty much the minimum scale that you're looking at is 1 million tons of residues per year. Some companies produce 2, 3, 5, 10 million tons of this residue per year. So the scale of those plants is huge. The scale of those refineries is huge already in the first place. So for them to go build, and a brand new refinery today costs $2-3 billion, just so we understand what type of numbers we are talking about. So going to build a facility to process the waste will still be a lot of money too. It makes sense that for a brand new technology, as a first adopter, Rio Tinto wants to build a demonstration plant. So this is a license specifically for the demonstration plant that they want to build in Quebec. For it to go to a commercial license, that's when the commercial license can be structured in annual payments as a huge upfront fee. But we carry part of the risk. We want them to make money. If they make money, we get paid. If they don't make money, they don't have to pay me anything upfront or anything either. But the only thing that's upfront right now, it's because it's a demonstration. It's not yet commercial. They wanted the technology. They wanted to know the ins and outs. They wanted the book. So for that, you need to pay upfront, which is what you see here, a demo license. And you see As you said, there is $1.4 million that's coming in now, and in 2025, there's a little portion early next year. But after that, there are $3 million that will come in with various milestones. Obviously, as you understand, there are several go, no-go decisions, constructions, production, stuff like that. So all those milestones, each one of them will trigger a portion of that $3 million until it's up and running, doing its job, and then they are ready to say, okay, we like it, let's build the big one. And the big one for that, we'll have to sit down with them and we'll have to finalize a commercial agreement, which would be more in a royalty structure and not as a upfront payments. That's how we target it.
Brilliant. Okay, and ultimately royalties as a share of the upside moving forward. Brilliant. That's what we're working towards. So it's a demonstration. It's a demonstration to them. It's also a demonstration to you that this can work. It will make your future sales with other companies a lot easier. One imagines. And with regards to, I guess the technology itself, how do you go about selling to other organizations? So there's a known audience, presumably, of bauxite plants. Have you been speaking to many more or any others?
Yep. We've now, for the last several years, we've been talking to a lot of the aluminum refineries. They're all looking for a solution. Sometimes they reach out to us, sometimes we reach out to them. Myself and my colleague, our CTO, will be at the IXOBA conference, which is the largest aluminum conference in the world. We've been going to those conferences now for quite a few years. And the idea is we tell them, we've got this solution. You want to try it? Absolutely. So we get the material, we run bench scale, we run the numbers. If the numbers are exciting, they want to do more test work. And there are different costs and different fees for depending on the test work that they do. As well, every client has different needs for what they want to do with this. Some have a pure need of get it down to zero, the waste. Others want to maximize the value of the product that they want to get out of there. The way our technology functions, we split it up into three boxes. We have circuit one that deals with the caustic portion of it. Then we have box two, circuit two, that's dealing with the iron. And then box three, circuit three, that's the one that's dealing with all the goodies, the critical metals that are still left in there. And there's a lot of there are a lot of critical metals in there, and that's the beauty. But you cannot just go after them right from the beginning. It's like, no, I don't want everything else. I just want the critical metals. I just want the rares. It doesn't work that way. You have to go after the first portion. If you take care of the first portion, then you go after the second portion. Every portion has its own capex. Every portion will have its own revenue, different products, offtake streams that will come out until you go to the third one. And then it's a question of what's in the residue. Different companies buy bauxite from different locations. Some bauxite, let's say the Jamaican bauxite, was always known to have the highest critical element content, the most amount of scandium or gallium or whatever it is. So some companies will have more scandium in there than others, but all of them will have more scandium than most of the other operations globally where scandium is actually produced. So it's quite an amazing source of scandium. But some companies will focus on the iron because they have a huge amount of iron in their bauxite residue. Other companies will focus less on iron because there's less of it, but there is more of something else. So there's in total, we are seeing around 6-7 different byproducts that could commercially be viable, including high purity silica, alumina, that's still left over in there. So it's a nice range of products, and it's up to the client to select. They have specific needs. We adjust, we tailor the technology specifically for their operation.
Look, okay, so that's interesting. That kind of makes it a bit more defensible rather than say, here's our product. It does this. If you want this, it comes up. This is about you providing a sort of basic engineering package from bench through pilot into demonstration. And so I guess what I'm trying to understand is, does the design obviously change significantly through those phases in terms of the throughput or process integration or reagent recycling loops? That all evolves in a kind of joint effort? Is that right? To have a bespoke product?
The basic engineering package of the process, the core process, remains fairly the same, but there are some adjustments because of the particularities of their waste. Are they
Yeah.
treating the old stuff or are they treating the fresh stuff? There is even some differences in there. The technology works with both, but you still have to adjust a little bit the recipe for them. Then when it comes to a company saying, well, okay, I want to build it there. Well, that's where they go and do their detailed engineering. They do their own layout and they figure out the permitting of their requirements, whatever the electrical will be. All those details around our process is already on them, but we provide the inner portion of the main processing circuits. How do we recycle the reagent? How all that functions? That remains fairly similar, but of course, the recipe changes a little bit more salt or a little bit less salt, right? There are always going to be some changes, which is why we need to go through this bench piloting scale with all our clients before they see a good picture of the potential revenues, the potential OPEX and CAPEX of their potential operation.
Okay, but if you got someone like Rio, they're going to have multiple bauxite residue feed chemistry requirements, presumably, and there's going to be variability between in that feed composition. So how do you kind of demonstrate a kind of process flexibility and robustness? I get the kind of core component, but are you saying it's on them if it in terms of that
No,
kind of
on them
variability?
is building the plant. On them is
Okay,
not building the process.
okay,
Yeah, but that's part, and even in this announcement we said there is going to be test work, and a lot of the test work is specifically for this variability. Every single one of those refiners, they have various factories, and it makes sense that from every facility they had a different plant working, so there is a little bit of a different signature in there. So it makes sense. This variability testing is exactly part of this test work for them, and we are happy to demonstrate it. And we say, okay, well, with this product, you can extract this, and that's going to be the process.
right,
For this residue from your other location, you can get items 1, 2, and 4, but in the first place, you can get 1, 2, 3, and 4.
okay.
And that's only normal because they have to make those decisions, because if the recovery is a little bit less on one of the products specifically, well, it makes sense. They will be like, well, I don't want this loop in that process. Why? Because I'm not recovering enough of it.
Okay, so in terms of I guess quantifying the like say something like iron recovery quality, etc., or identifying the kind of critical strategic minerals like rare earths, titanium, scandium, as you've already mentioned. How do you track that at demonstration scale, and and does purity level come into the evaluation at the end of the process?
Of course,
Yeah,
because we do piloting. We stop at piloting. If a client wants to do a demonstration plant, that's already on site, because you don't ship bauxite residues in tons and tons and tons. You Let's say 1 ton is the most that I would expect anyone to ship. But for a demonstration plant, if they build it on site, they will do all the characteristics from beginning to the end. In the pilot scale, well, we have clear objectives. The client says, I want this, this, this. Here's the spec. We need to hit that spec. If we hit the spec, and that includes purity, whether it's recoveries that need to be at a certain level, whether it's the particular impurities in that final product. Because think of it like this. If they cannot sell it, if this does not hit the spec of their client, it's a waste. So we didn't solve the problem, which is why for us, and again, that goes back to our model, if they can sell it, we take that risk. We are not getting paid until they sell it. So that's where
right.
the royalty structure comes in.
Okay, so you design the kind of water and reagent recycling circuits to kind of manage the kind of feed impurities, right? Okay, understood.
Everything is
Understood.
on us. Everything process related, that's on us.
Okay. And are there any kind of given as a kind of there's a remediation component to this as well as the kind of metals extraction? Is there any kind of with the JDA that you've got in place, any kind of environmental component being built into these milestones that you're being judged on?
Well, the process by itself functions in such a way that you have close to or a zero waste process, because we recycle our reagents. Our reagent recycling is very, very high, well above the 90s. And that's one of the things that allows this process to remain economical. When we are talking about environmental remediation, that's the benefit of the process. Of course, there's going to be some waste, right? So part of the study and part of their demonstration plant is always to look what are those waste streams. Are they now easy to store, or can I actually use them for building roads or whatever it is? It's no longer considered toxic, or it's no longer considered dangerous or anything like this. So that's part of all the studies. We believe that if a client is to use all the three circuits, C1, C2, and C3, you're reducing your waste by roughly 80-85%. So out of your waste material coming in every year, you're going to have 10 or 15%, and that leftover material is going to be a very benign kind of sand type material that you can probably use locally. So you won't have anything reporting, or if you have something reporting, would be a very small amount that they will just store it somewhere because they don't have any usage for it. But overall, that's part of, it's not on us, it's not part of our milestones, it's part of their study in terms of what are all the waste streams and everything, how do they quantify them. But so far, all the milestones on the process, we already achieved them throughout the piloting. Now there's several engineering studies to be completed, and then it's, as I mentioned, it's the construction decisions, and then the starting decisions and final production and stuff like that. Those are the main milestones. We are not attached.
Okay. Okay, interesting. Okay, and I was having this conversation with someone the other day in terms of some of the challenges with projects like this, in terms of that obviously scaling up for sure from pilot to demonstration, etc. But things like corrosion, and even, as you say, reagent degradation as part of that recycling. How do you kind of design that into your part of the process?
Good question. I mean, reagents, that's part of it. If they break down, if they're gone, right? It's a waste. Now you have to treat it and all that stuff. So we have a very, very high number for the recovery. So we basically do not have the degradation of the reagent, which is great. And we've now run hundreds of cycles in the piloting. We just basically keep reusing the same reagents, and that's the beauty of our process. In terms of corrosion and all that stuff, there's not much really to discuss here on this. We use very different reagents. We did not invent those reagents. They are weaker reagents than what the industry usually uses, which what you're thinking of, the hydrochloric, sulfuric, or nitric acid, which have special treatments and or special coatings to make sure the reactors don't get damaged, this and that. We work with something much more simpler to work with. It's less aggressive, and that's why we don't need any special material for the reactors, for the pipings and stuff like that. So that's a huge advantage of our process, that we can do it with those other reagents that traditionally were just never really used in the mining industry, because mining industry was always going, give me the strongest mineral acid out there, let's crack this, let's get the metal out, we'll neutralize the waste, dump it, and that's it. That's no longer the way.
Okay, and talk to me. Okay, talk to me about the JDA, because I think it's kind of interesting. These big companies have a reputation of like trying lots of different solutions at the same time, because they, in financial terms, it's not a lot of money for them, but for you, it's very important. How much competition is out there? How do you kind of factor that into your demonstration license agreement? Like, say if they decide not to go ahead with you, what does that do for you?
All those companies, we see it very clearly. Every company is talking to a potential solution, and I would say we've done the research, and every 10 years you see one or two ideas that comes into the industry. They test it and they see, okay, this can recover 10% of the waste into some metals, or this can do 5%, or this can do 50%, but this is not economical. We've seen so many different solutions focusing after scandium. That's been the hype around 10-15 years ago. Let's get just a scandium. Well, you're going to treat millions of tons just to recover 1 ton of scandium. Like, doesn't make sense. The economics are not there. You're producing more waste that way than actually producing good stuff. So yes, there is competition, and it's normal. There's a lot of competition in terms of just remediation, like companies who are saying, "Hey, we have a solution. We are going to make your red pile disappear. It will be nice and clean. Won't be dirty. It won't be polluting. It won't be doing anything nasty to anybody." It's like, okay, does it pay you back money? No, but it's no longer environmental liability. I mean, we see some of the competition offering this. Some others are saying, well, let's build bricks out of it. Let's build roads out of it. Let's use this for cement. Okay, the cement industry has to be nearby. The road construction industry needs to be nearby, because you're not going to ship this from here to there super far just because you need that construction material. It's not enough value. So that's the problem. There's a lot of reusage ideas. So that's a lot of our competition. And so it's a low capex kind of for the client, but they don't get revenue out of this. But every single client today understands that there is a lot of dollars attached in every ton of this residue. It's already crushed. It's already fine ground powder. Let's just get the metals out. And then there are only a few companies, I would say, that really are saying, let's use some interesting process and get the iron out. Let's get rares out. Let's get something out of it. Let's get some value. Honestly, I cannot say that our solution is the only one. The belief is the industry will need several solutions. I don't know. I believe the best solution, the one that will have the best rate of return, and the one that will have the best application globally, and not like some solutions we see that they are only project specific. They don't work on others. What can I do? No much flexibility. In our case, that's not the case. So we've seen companies and such as Rio Tinto even try every 5-10 years. They try another company, another solution, then they walk away from it, then they go start with another company. And we noticed some companies, they'll try one or two in parallel, but rarely that they'll say, okay, let's try 5 technologies all at the same time. Let's do a blanket approach. One of them will work. No, they kind of just try and throw a dart and hit it on the spot, and then on the next metal cycle, they try another solution. So we feel like right now, because of all the demand for critical metals, because of the environmental push on reducing the footprint, the local supply chains that are growing and of growing interest to the governments, it's now the time. Everybody is saying, let's look at bauxite residue as a resource and not as a waste. So it's
okay. Look, and I get, different deposits may require different solutions, or more solutions may apply to some deposits, and only one solution may apply to another deposit. It's and the addressable market is big. I'm just interested in what the competition's like, and how you allocate your time to this. Like if I take this Rio deal, for instance, because what you don't want to do would be, I am a consultancy company, because consultants are expensive.
Yeah.
They take time, and they can only do one thing at a time, generally, properly. Whereas a royalty model suggests that you are light on your feet. And if I look at the example you gave earlier, gold royalty companies, very few employees, and they can, that thing just runs and runs, and it's a money machine. How do you set yourself up for something like Rio? How much time and money is involved in a deal like setting this deal up? I would say winning this deal, setting it up, and running with it. And how many of these can you run concurrently in relation to the number of employees you have now?
Yeah, the team is around 20. I think we just recently passed the 20 number. Most of it's all researchers, engineers, technical people building our pilots, building our demos and stuff like that we have for ourselves. You're absolutely right. I'm completely staying away from the consultancy. We are not a consultant. Someone calls us and says, "Oh, I have this waste. I'd like you to find a solution for this. How much do you charge?" We don't. I'm not interested in that. We are not an engineering firm that's there to find their solution. Now, in our case, what we are really after is I can work with several clients all at the same time. We have an opportunity to grow our labs right now, and we are growing that, and we are adding piloting capacity, so I can process more and more clients at the same time. how can I get it to a point where that piloting can be done much faster. The bench scale can be, honestly, today, the bench scale, we are much more efficient than we were 3-4 years ago when we started with Rio Tinto. Back then, it was taking much more time. Right now, I mean, it's part of our, you mentioned it earlier, the variability study. It's in my interest. I knock on the doors of every single aluminum refinery that I can get, so I can get their sample, test it, because it's in my interest to make sure that my process works on this material. And we as well do variability on old material that's been sitting there for 40-50 years weathering versus fresh material that's coming out straight from the pipe, because I guarantee you there is a change. And our process has shown so far that it's good with both, but we are not stopping there. We are getting more and more refineries to send us material, and we process it, and we want to show this. And that's part of the reason we are at that large aluminum conference later this month, because that's what we want to show, how good and versatile our process is. We tested it on so many different sources of this residue, and it works.
Okay, and I know it's spending today talking specifically about the bauxite residue valorization. And you've got you like we said at the beginning, you've got a lot of other technologies in the box as well. So maybe you'll come back to that another day. Just want to be clear. I asked you about it earlier in terms of intellectual property. Can I be clear? You are 100% global owner of that intellectual property today. It's all yours, 100%.
Correct.
In all versions. All versions. Okay. And so,
yep.
So that in terms of your ability to I guess monetize that, that's 100% in your control. There's no way. Is there there's no sort of restriction in terms of the time frame which you own that? Do you own that in perpetuity as well?
Correct. That's all developed by us. It's ours. We have various patents that are already in the way. It's a tricky question of protecting it all as well. So as we are growing, we are getting more and more into the details of how to protect it. We have patents, we have trade secrets, and it's a combination of them. And we have several components. It's kind of the technology being split up in several boxes to do all that protection properly. So it's very interesting. And the beauty is we are working with the big companies. They are there for the same reasons. This is not it's a huge industry. I mean, as I mentioned to you, it's not like we are dealing with thousands and thousands of companies around the world. There's around 100 of those refineries around the world. That's it. So it's a very small, tight industry, and we see how different companies in that industry license something that they develop, and then they license it to the other one. It's a well-established industry, very mature. They know how to work. And that's why we are very comfortable working in that environment, protecting our intellectual property and licensing it to the industry as well.
Okay, like I'll say they had to ask, because sometimes I've seen it where companies unravel because they haven't secured it, but it sounds like you have, which is great news, and you can focus on the business plan, development, and growth of the business. Look, I appreciate your time today. Maybe come back and talk about some of the other technologies. Obviously, magnet recycling.
Absolutely.
Pretty exciting at the moment, certainly out in North America. You're obviously based in Quebec as well. Some good governmental support from provincial support, I should say.
We had great support over the years from the Quebec government, federal government. They're pushing big time to try and get more and more critical metals being produced here in Canada. So it's been a good time.
Kiril, appreciate your time today. We'll see you soon. Thank you.
Thank you, Matt.